What comes up to your mind when you hear the name Taric? An enchantment support who can turn his whole team into an unkillable horde of hard-stuck silver players. With a bit of healing and a bit of CC, well, I guess most people almost forgot that this champion existed. He wasn't really popular the last years since he kinda sucks on the support role, or there were just better options. He has barely any range or a great engage tool, which ends up him getting poked on the lane by the enemy ADC. His Q gives him some healing and can technically be spammed, but it requires way too much mana. Since other champions like Anivia or Ryze can just buy mana items, it's not a big deal, but Taric doesn't, has the same access to the amount of gold they do. So to sum up, we can say that's why he has a terrible laning phase when you are not good at this game. Which we all don't are. To remove all these problems, I decided to throw him inside the jungle, where he doesn't need to lane against a DC players that outrange him by a big margin. And all his mana problems are prevented by this big boy. His W and E spell become the key spell while ganking, since the enemy has to dodge 2 stuns at the same time, and late game in team fights, you only have to press one button to make your whole team immortal and win the team fight. But now you might be asking, how can a supporter who doesn't have any damage spells clear the jungle faster and easier than a champ that is considered as a normal jungler? Well, watch closely and learn. The major thing that makes it possible that Taric can clear his own jungle is his passive. When he casts an ability, his next 2 auto attacks will gain 100% attack speed and will deal more magic damage based on his level and armor. In Taric's case, it's going to be the Q spell, which is also the first ability you are going to put your skill point into it. Now you might wonder, okay, this might be a nice damage tool, but this Q spell has a cooldown of 15 seconds. This way it is going to take me 10 minutes until I reach my red buff. The good thing about the Q spell is that it resets its cooldown when you are able to hit the 2 passive auto attacks on a target. In this case, the blue buff. So you can clear your jungle by just spamming Q and auto-attacking twice right after. It also reduces the cooldown of all spells by 1 second when you manage to hit something with your 2 auto-attacks. That's it. Meanwhile, you are even healing yourself, so you don't even have to take any kind of potions with you. This is a combo you can't really make use of on the lane, since the Q spell is going to cost you quite a lot of mana, but that's why we are starting our jungle clear at the blue buff. When you are done with the competitive stone, you are going to skill the E spell. The main function of this ability is to stun your opponent, but since Taric doesn't has any damage spells, you have to accept that this is the only viable option. Luckily, the stun also deals 90 magic damage at level 1, and just like the Q spell, it activates your passive, so you can use your 2 auto attack buffs again. The handy thing is that the passive activates right after you press the E button, so you don't have to wait with your autos until it goes off. Instead, you can use them instantly right after you cast your spell. But overall, the clear doesn't change that much. Just spam your abilities and keep clearing the jungle. When you reach a camp that has more than 1 monster, make sure to hit as many of them with your E spell, since this is the only ability in Taric's kit that has AoE damage. So when you reach level 3, just put another point into your stun, since we don't need the W spell yet. After doing Raptors in red, go straight to the Scuttle Crab. When there is an option for a gank, go for it. When there are none, just go to the Krugs and make sure to hit level 4 so you can finally skill your W spell, which is crucial for ganks. But we will come back to that later in this video. At your first backboard, you should have enough gold to buy a tier and some pre-items for turbo camping. The tier is crucial since it gives you straight 240 mana, and it has charges, which give you bonus mana when you affect an enemy or an ally with one of your abilities. So each time when you use your E spell on a jungle camp, you get 3 bonus mana, which can be stacked up to 360. This is very important because during the second clear, there won't be a blue buff. Bruh. And without mana, your jungle clear is garbage. But you are not a good jungler when you can clear a jungle. The other important part is ganking the lane. Now you might wonder, how can a Taric gank any lane effectively? His movement speed is quite normal, and his spells don't make him faster or contain any gap closer. So Taric has no surprise effect nor can he run down enemies with his mobility. But this W spell might help. When you click on one of your allies, it creates a bond between them and Taric. The ally gets the same amount of bonus armor Taric has, but the crucial part is that your teammate mimic the abilities you cast. So when Taric heals himself with the Q spell, your soulmate gets healed as well. When you use your stun, your ally also gets the light beam that stuns the enemy right in front of him. Well, this doesn't really sound strong at the first moment. But when you come closer to the enemy during the gank and you don't use your stun instantly, he gets nervous since he knows that you can stun him at any time. Since your ally is also able to stun when you bind him with your W spell, he actually needs to consider 2 stuns he has to dodge. But what if there are a few meters between you and your opponent? How can you stun him now? No problem. When you activate your stun, some champions have a gap closer to ensure that it hits the enemy. So Taric doesn't need to stand right next to the opponent to make his gank effective.
Fuck this shit, I'm out.
He can let them do the dirty work, just like if they are his Pokemon. Go Guyana. Do whatever you want. One major benefit is that most people who are getting ganked by Taric underestimate his impact. This Katharina casually thinks that she can go back and one-shot the victor without any issues. But Taric has enough healing to keep his teammates alive, which results into more and more HP loss for the assassin. At least she managed to make it an equal trade with her ignite. Psych. Some people are trying to trick you by using their surroundings, but you can use your smite to slow them a bit or use a combo they can't dodge. The E to flash combo. He knows that the stun is charged, but he doesn't know if you have a gap closer. When you flash at the last possible moment, they can't dodge it, but make sure to time it correctly. Or another great way to use your stun is to predict the enemy movement. And she will find himself walking into one death trap into another. It is crucial to dodge Taric's stun, since when you get hit once, you are dead. The next power spike comes when you hit level 6. The only spell that turns Taric into a reasonable champion. When you press the R button, it takes about 2.5 seconds until the ability does its work. But then you will be immortal for the same amount of time. So it's like a Kale ult with the major difference that you are not the only one who can turn immortal. All allies standing in this circle next to you also gain this effect, which can be crucial when the enemies engage and use all their ultimates to achieve literally nothing. But what if your ally isn't standing inside the ultimate circle? No problem. Just bind him with your W spell and he will mimic your ultimate as well. The good thing is that all allies standing near him become immortal as well, so you don't even have to stand next to them. The only real difficulty that exists when you want to cast this spell is the right timing. When you use it too early, enemy can just back off and wait until the effect disappears. When you use it too late, your team might be dead before the ultimate can even do its work.
But when the enemy hard engages, it is crucial for them to one-shot you, since when Taric manages to survive for about 3 seconds, he can make some of his teammates immortal, which can turn the fight. Or it can also be used as a tool to bait the enemy who thinks he can kill you, but suddenly Taric turns into the Messiah. Now you might wonder what happened with the Jinx. But some of them are even so stupid that they engage after I used my ultimate. And it can also be used to deny certain ultimates, just like you can observe it in the following clip.
Nope.
The ultimate makes it also really easy to tower dive some enemies. I mean, you only have to press one button and you have about 3 seconds time to spend under the enemy tower, where you can do whatever you want. Literally no counterplay. But what if you don't have your ultimate up? Well, modern problems require modern solutions. Wait, this reminds me of something. Since you have now more gold compared to support Taric and skipped a useless laning phase, you can now consider to buy Chem Tank as your first item. The first obvious benefit is the additional movement speed buff you get when you activate this item and run towards an enemy champion. Since Taric doesn't have a gap closer spell, it is very important for him to have tools that help him to run down enemies. But it also increases the clear speed. By moving around and taking damage, Chem Tank gains stacks, which increases your damage for your next auto attack. It deals 200% more damage against monsters, so there are 2 benefits in one item. The second item is going to be Black Cleaver. By dealing physical damage, you gain stacks, which reduces the armor of the enemy, and you gain more movement speed, so it gets even more harder for the enemy to run away. As third item, you go Fimbulwinter, since you want to transform your tier into something giving you even more mana to spam your abilities. And when you want to see how a supporter like Rakan gets turned into a one-shotting assassin, click on this video right here.